You're low seven figures almost 10 years in, and then now you've like 10x over the last two and a half.
Yeah, and I think a lot of founders feel this way and can relate. You're running a brand at a high level. We're doing everything right. We've got the right partners, for the most part. And so like when the revenue's not coming in, for us, we're in this interesting place where we just had the wrong product. Like I always said to our team, and I was like, the brand is bigger than the revenue, and that's something's off. Like we should be bigger, just flat out. The only thing we didn't change was like our marketing and our content, because we believed in it and the brand itself. Like I basically was like, I believe in the brand, I just don't believe in our product.
All right, Mr. Gunn, why don't you give us a little intro and then we'll just chop it up.
Yeah, Nate Gunn. I am the co-founder and CEO of Wildbird, a baby brand. Live in San Clemente, California, and started the brand 11 plus years ago with my wife. And here we are, man. We're still doing it. We're still cranking along. So,
how many times did you want to give up on the brand?
Oh man, the limit does not exist.
Well, I mean, outside of like being an exhausted business owner that's running a D2C brand,
honestly,
that's like
there is like two major existential crisis moments of wanting to be out that I can like, this is it. One was like kind of late 2019 and then early COVID years.
Okay.
I was like,
so pretty close to each other.
Well, that was like one, I would say.
Okay.
It probably lasted a solid, 6 months to a year. And then the other one was it was more of a positive one, but it was nonetheless one. And that was right around the time I met you guys. I think that was like June of 2023. That's that spring, summer was pretty fried, pretty done. But since then till now is pretty good, but may have had like a mellow one yesterday, literally.
We're catching you at a good time then.
Yeah, dude, seriously, man. It's wild because we made some really good hires last year, and I don't know, I just feel like we were in a really good spot last summer, fall. And then dude, the back end of last year and going into this year, it's pretty heavy. But it's like we dug a couple holes and we just got to dig ourselves out kind of moment right now. We're like, okay, we're here, we're doing this. So it's a little bit of a grind right now, but it's a little heavier than I would like. I mean, after 11 years, I've kind of tried to build the business to be as lifestyle friendly as possible by this point.
Yeah. So, can you speak to any of that at all? Even just from
what the holes we literally dug?
Yeah.
No, these are good ones, I mean, long story short, I think we talked about it last time on the pod, but we looked at seriously selling the business and we kind of went down that route. Realized the timing wasn't for us right now. And look, I mean, I think most of that is about timing. That's probably the biggest lesson I've learned is like, you don't choose it chooses you more than anything.
Yeah.
And so, the game right now is just like always be ready. But the last year, the big motivation for us, our team, has just been, how do we put a moat around the business? And then how do we put a moat around the moat? All I want, like after a decade of doing this, like all I want is security. I want to lose some of the volatility. And yeah, we're just trying to build a brand that's like gonna last, like legacy. And so I don't know how long we'll be a part of that legacy, but we're in it.
For sure.
And we want the security now, If there's no exit, then it's like, okay, how can I make this secure now? And for the most part, we've like made some insane strides to doing that. I feel less volatile about the company and the business than I ever have by leaps and bounds. So yeah, we're in a good spot.
Is that making a few key hires like you're mentioning? Is that taking some chips off the table? Is it all the above?
It's mainly key hires for sure, and then just kind of leveling up our team and really, we run a really lean like team. We're mainly contractors, agencies, right? And our core team is primarily marketing. And so it's really like we run a RACI model. Like that's kind of how I've always done it. We're remote. We've always been remote. So, my main thing in running the business is like giving absolute ownership and dominance to whoever that player is, and just making sure that they really, really, really do understand, like, I own this thing. It's mine. No one's coming to save the day if I don't do it. So obviously they have collaborators and people they need to inform, all that. But at the end of the day, they really do own that piece of the puzzle. So I think it's like key hires plus like really enabling them and just giving like our team the permission to operate at that level and to really own it. I think like at the end of the day, I think that's probably one of the biggest things.
For any hire.
Yeah, it's just like, yeah, you got the right hire, but then you never really gave him the permission to do what you want him to do.
You're just
And I think that
moving them
just comes
around.
with like, yeah, that just comes with like a founder, an owner, a manager, whatever, being able to relinquish that and, put your trust in someone. So, and I always tell them, I'm like, hey, I'm literally handing you the ownership here. I mean, I do it with my hands, right? And in that moment, I'm like, you're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna fail at this. Like, I know the program. Um, I'm doing it, so like you should bet
Right.
up. So I'd say that's huge. And then like, the big holes, we expanded like full retail this last year.
Were people asking for that? Did you have a lot of market research that went into like, okay,
Yeah.
carrier, people want to kind of try it out. Is it like years of high return rates? Like, or is there what went into that decision?
Yeah.
Obviously, there's obvious reasons like expansion, market share, like all that stuff. But
Yeah, I mean the retail strategy international, it's just time, honestly. I mean, after 10 years, like it's just time. We've
yeah,
grown the brand to a point where like we have those doors are just open to us. They have been for a while. So, we've been online, Target and other retailers for years. We're in the fortunate position to where like our Target sales online were really good. And they kind of just had to wait for us to say, yeah, we're good. We're ready to do this. So we've been talking to them for about 3 years, and it was really last spring where we were like, "Yeah, we're ready to go." And so, they had us come out, we spent some time out there and, talked a lot about the category as a whole, talked about what Target should be doing in terms of baby. So we had a lot of influence, I think, on what they're gonna do this year,
it's
which has
awesome.
been really fun. It puts us in a really good position to like, "Hey, you want us to sell through." Like, that's your end goal. Like, when I talk to a buyer, I'm like, look, if I'm putting myself in your shoes, the main thing you don't want to do is make a mistake on who you bring in, right?
Mm,
Um, that is your livelihood. And so I was like, to do that, here's what we can do, but also here's what you guys can do, in our opinion, to help us sell through. And so, let's create a true partnership. Target's a beast, so there's only so much they can do in
sure.
terms of what we're requesting. But yeah, actually, I was like pleasantly surprised by how much advice they took from us. Um, like for example, I full on was like, "Hey, the mannequin thing you got going on in there, it's taking up a bunch of shelf space." I was like, "You gotta get rid of it. It's crap. Like just dump it." She was like, "Really? All stores? Like
There,
just?" I was like, "Get rid of it."
there's a mannequin representing the carrier,
Yeah, and
or like
like
wearing it.
things don't look good on mannequins,
That's
so
so weird.
and the mannequin looked like, honestly, like an Optimus robot, made out of like silicone. It looks so bad, and it just looked like a loose bag on
But
this.
they're quick to on the feedback. That's
She
awesome.
took it right then and there, and she like let me know a couple months later. She's like, "Yeah, we got rid of it. It's gone." And I was like, I had no idea that we could have that kind of level of impact. So I'm like, I appreciate that they're really listening to buyers, but or to
As if like the moms that are going in to actually try these out haven't been hit up by your ads at this point or any other competitors' ads. It's like they
yeah.
know what it looks like. They don't need, you know what I mean? It's not like clothes.
Yeah.
It's very different.
Yeah, like, yeah, I actually think it would downplay the way the product looked. I was like, "Hey, if you're gonna continue the mannequin, we actually don't wanna be on the mannequin unless," and I kinda gave them some things that we could do, like, you know, um, basically, we wanted to add in some kind of weighted mechanism, so, like, it weighed down the carrier and spread it
Exactly.
out.
Yeah.
So, I was like and then we even offered to pay for a new mannequin, right? Like, we're like, "Dude, this thing looks so off. You're scaring moms, you guys." So, I was like, let's just revamp this. I've been telling Target a long time now. I'm like, look, Target baby needs to feel like Target home. Like when you go into Target and you look at what's on the shelf with McGee and Co, Magnolia,
Right.
Old, like you really feel like something different. But tile floors, fluorescent lights, like Target can do better, I think. I think they have a hard time like leaning too heavy Walmart or competing with Walmart. I'm like, really just lean into what you are and that it's a premium customer base.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, getting in Target, doing all doors, it's a grind. It's a huge project for sure. So that's one of those holes we just gotta finish digging ourselves out of, and we're close. And then the real work starts with sell through once we launch. So
Going back to like when we first started working with you in like June 2023, you said you had like another existential crisis or anything like, is that just longevity of running DTC brand of just like, hey, it's been 9 years at this point. You're low seven figures, almost 10 years in, and then now you've like 10x over the last two and a half. It's
yeah,
like you were literally right about to give up before like this huge breakthrough of plateau that you guys have experienced.
yeah, and I think a lot of founders feel this way, and can relate. You're running a brand at a high level. We're doing everything right. We've got the right partners, for the most part. And so like when the revenue's not coming in, for us, we're in this interesting place, where we just had the wrong product mix. Like I always said, to our team, and to my wife, my partner, I was like, the brand is bigger than the revenue, and that's something's off. Like
Yeah.
there should be more. There we should be bigger, just
Yeah.
flat out. And
Yeah.
so pre and during COVID, the business that was when we went through the hardest time of our business, and we just made a full pivot, um, just threw everything on its back and just like rearranged it all. So supply chain, product, all the things. The only thing we didn't change was like our marketing and our content, because we believed in it and the brand itself. Like I basically was like, I believe in the brand. I just don't believe in our product. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
I remember at that coffee shop talking to you about how you like just gotten back from I think Vietnam, Thailand. You're super pumped on like the new materials of something you were talking about.
yeah, it was around that time, right? We had just
Yeah.
kind of launched those new products, and we were maybe 6 months into like real growth. And I mean, I just knew, like, at
Yeah.
that point, I was like, cool, now we just got to pour gas on the fire.
Yeah.
And hence getting the right, agency in the mix to pour that gas on the fire here, with just straight up spend, right?
Yeah.
But the other thing, I would say like coming back to like where my headspace was at the time, obviously with success comes a lot of positivity and you're feeling good. But like the one thing that still lingers, I think for most of us, is just volatility and security, right? And like to me, that was important, especially after coming off of like a couple years of, it was very
Explosion.
volatile. We were taking on a lot of risk,
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah.
right? Um, I was pretty drained from all of that 2 years of kind of going through that, and our development cycle of product took a lot longer, right? We were doing it in Vietnam, so I couldn't get out there. It was all shut down, right? So it made the development of the new product really, really extended way more than I thought. So, we were just grinding, and we launched that new product September 22. Um, and I mean, it couldn't have come any sooner, honestly. It was like right at the end. And we sold out, and it was just like, hell yeah.
Okay, we got something.
We made a call, right? We believed in the brand. We
Yeah.
just we needed new products, and off we went from there. And then it was like a year of being sold out, sold out, sold out, pre-orders, pre-orders, pre-orders. And then it was really 23 where we were able to like stock, get going. And then it was 24 where we like really had full stock, full range of motion, I feel like.
And when did you bring GW in?
Yes, we brought in our partners, GW partners. So Jason Somerville, Chris Shipferling, we brought them in around the same time as you guys.
That's
Um,
right.
Again, I was in that mode of feeling burnt out. So definitely a lot of my thinking was like, okay, we've got success. We've got some EBITDA,
How do I maximize it?
6 months. I was like, what's more secure than selling the business and sailing off
Yeah.
into the sunset? So I had, I had some pretty naive dreams. The market was still pretty frothy, but like it was on its down. Um, so yeah, I actually found Chris on a freaking podcast, which is crazy. And then he mentioned something about the baby industry, and I was like, this is the guy. He knows everything. So baby's like a small world. And I work with a lot of different brands, like, just in a consulting way. I just love talking
Yeah.
to founders. So like, when you meet someone in baby, you have a kinship, right? You got
Eh,
thing. And they knew baby, man. So I hit up Chris. We hit it off like right away. He introduced me to Jason, his partner. So they run an M&A firm primarily, and then consulting,
Yeah.
some consulting. So yeah, I brought him on as
Great.
brokers, man. I was like, take us to market, let's go. So we spent the year. They basically brought me back to reality pretty quick. They're like, we need 12 months to get this thing ready to show a good trailing 12, and then let's talk about it. So spent that year. Long story short, we're still working with them today. And Jason's our fractional CFO, and then Chris is kind of our fractional vice VP of sales. So he's helping us with all things, retail, Target. We're
Oh,
expanding,
nice.
like we're trying to expand to like 500 to 1,000 baby stores across the country this year too. So, between Target, Babylist, Nordstrom, Pottery Barn, Dillard's, all these retailers, we're talking 3,000 to 4,000 stores across the US that we wanna be in. So, that's kinda our relationship and how we've been working with them, and, yeah, we're still cranking till this day. Just got off a call with Jason a few minutes ago. It's great. I think for me, in that time of, like, being down and out and over it, like, my wife and partner is very much on the creative and product side of the business. I was pretty alone when it came to, you know just running and operating the company at a high level, and, to be honest, I'm not
Yeah.
the smartest guy to be doing that, so working with those guys, it kind of gave gas and gave me the energy to keep cranking for another couple years, honestly, like, getting the right people in to, like, support the business was huge for me. It's probably my biggest recommendation I make to any founder now that's kind of in that part of just being, "Dude, like, where do I go here?"
Hitting the plateau.
Yeah, for me, it was some pretty serious financial clarity, and like having someone to really watchdog the business from a financial sense and help me there, because I'm more of a creative, so I'm working on a lot of the marketing and campaign side of Wildbird still. So yeah, that was huge, man. Like, I think, like that was probably the biggest move and into getting that clarity and feeling a little bit more secure. It all kind of comes back to that. Like, I just
Right.
want to keep volatility.
Yeah.
So yeah, kind of setting out good projections, and then trying to follow along with it. Huge.
I think it's surprising, but not surprising how often I jump on the phone with folks too that don't know where they wanna take the business either.
Yeah.
Like, they're just so in the weeds, right? And they haven't, like, stepped out to actually say, like but they're experiencing all the things that you're describing of just, like, being as a business owner, "Is my business gonna fail?" The next day is, like, "We're gonna go to the rocket ship to take this thing to the moon." And you're always, like, living in that fear, anxiety that also drives you guys and business owners to be successful at the same time.
Yeah.
But, obviously with, like, our forecasting model, there's so much of, "Hey, we wanna reverse engineer from, like, what you guys wanna do from a profit and top line perspective." And a lot of it is very, like, loosey-goosey, which is surprising, but not surprising at the same time, but it makes so much sense to what you're describing. I'm just like, "Man, once I had financial clarity, it's like I know how to drive the business, even from, like, a creative and branding perspective," right?
All of it, all the above, right?
Yeah.
Like, what is it? Seven Habits, Stephen Covey, work with the end in mind, which
Yeah.
he actually stole from Marcus Aurelius, but um, he said it first many, many years ago. But
Many, many years ago.
yeah.
Historian.
But no, like, it's literally like my life's motto is work with the end in mind. It's like for me, it's everything at this point. It's like, where are we going? Work backwards from there, reverse
Yeah.
engineer from there. That's the Kynship way. That's our way. That's how we're running the business. Um, I think, like, a lot of people get way too aggressive with just like looking down and grinding, and they never look up. And so it's like, got to keep that perspective. I think there's a time and a place for that. Like those couple years during COVID was that for me. I was just like taking on debt, grinding, grinding, grinding. But I at least knew what the end goal was. Like I knew what we were grinding towards, you know what I mean? So there's a time and a place to look up, but like, yeah, man, it's huge. Yeah, very surprised. Like I just went to lunch the other day with a great business, honestly. Like I've had 3 interesting founders that have come my way this last year. All 3 have absolutely insane businesses that I would die to have. Just like great margin, extremely, extremely tight lead times on production, if not no lead time, like straight up
Wow.
make order. Doing anywhere from, 20 to 40 million a year and very profitable, multi-millions in EBITDA. And I'm sitting at lunch with, these guys, or I'm at the driving range with a friend that has this business or whoever. And, I'm hearing this sense of the same thing that I'm feeling with a couple million in debt and nothing to show for it. Right. And it's volatility. It's like scarcity mindset. It's like they're worried. Right. Um, and I'm sitting across from them coming from a perspective of having lived both. And I'm telling them like, dude, you are
Yeah.
crushing. You don't even know. You don't even know where this could be. Because I also talk to a lot of founders that are not in that place, and I'm like, dude,
Right.
just keep going. You're gonna figure it out. Persistence is key. But no matter where you're at in the game, you're always feeling that feeling,
Totally.
and it's like, how do you deal with that? For me, I think it's a lot about like your network for sure, and the people you surround yourself with, and like those 3 conversations. I think both of them came away from that, feeling like, hell yes, like, "'Kay,
Yeah.
cool. I'm
Yeah.
feeling really good now." You know what I
For
mean?
sure.
And I can share that with them because 'cause I'm like, "Look, I talk to a lot of founders. It's something I love to do." So, I can tell you right now, you guys are doing amazing. Keep going. Like, you got nothing to worry about. Like, just keep doing
Yeah.
whatever you're doing because it's working. And, and I actually now I ask them the question, I'm like, "Do you talk to, like, other founders very often?" And most of the time, it's like, "No, not really." Like, if I
Right.
do, we're not open about numbers. And I'm like, "Dude, open it up." Like, you'll realize real quick, it's not as big as it seems? Well,
Entrepreneurship is so lonely, and
it's
that's
so
why, like,
fun.
networking is so I mean, not networking, I actually hate that word, but it more so just, like, build a relationship, right, with, like, people that are doing the same things as you. Well, I also so that comes to mind is, like, how powerful that is, but also too, how emotional business is and, like, running a business. 'Cause, like,
It's super emotional, man. And so it's like,
you're
forget
so
about
tied to it, it's your baby, and you get so emotionally tied to it, fear, 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 and then they sit down with you, and they're just like, "What are you worried about?" And they kinda just speak the facts to the emotions. You're, like, reminding your brain, you're like, "Oh, okay. Yeah, like, I'm
and
actually
look,
on the right track."
eating it too, like, talking about
For
yesterday,
sure.
like, full on, like, dude, fighting with my wife about something about the business, right? And it's like, and we're like usually what those conversations end up leading to is like, "Dude, we're crushing it. We're doing really good. Like,
Mhm.
we should not be stressed about this thing here." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We'll figure it out. Like, we just gotta
Yeah.
keep eating away at it. It just, it gets tiresome though, for sure. It gets old and, eventually I will tap out. Like, I just have to, right? Like, you know you can't box forever, dude. Like, at some point you're just done. And so, but and at some point too, you just wanna kinda change it up and do something fresh, but which is kinda my biggest goal, right? Is just do something new. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's wild. So like, and speaking with founders, especially like I just did this program with a Target called Target Takeoff. It's really interesting. It's kind of like a mastermind group of new brands going into Target. And, in our group, we were the oldest brand by a lot, and I'm talking to some of these brands that are going all doors Target that are only doing like a couple million a year in sales. And I just look at that level where they're at and, I think early stage financial clarity, having your goals or at least some maybe not an end goal, but having
Yeah.
these mile markers or these markers and kind of working back from there is just like it's just key, dude. It's everything. It's so worth the investment and a solid fractional CFO. Preferably someone that really understands like the investment banking side.
Yeah.
Help you towards that end need. But yeah, just need that collaboration of the people that fulfill the thing that you don't have is huge. So massive for me.
What does your calendar look like this week?
Um, Dude, to be real, my situation right now sucks for a couple of reasons.
Oh boy.
I'm just playing. Um, Honestly, it's just too wishy-washy. Like I have a VA. She's great.
Yeah.
Awesome team, you know. But it's the list I'm looking over it at my left right now. There's like 40 items on there, right? Of just stuff. And it's like the amount of items to be done is overwhelming to the point where it's like debilitating. That's where I'm at right now. To the point where like I'm just ignoring stuff, and then I'm honestly at a point now where I'm kind of treating it like like an email inbox. The most important stuff will come to the top because
Yeah.
I just have to. But
How much of that 40 is golf related?
none. I'm on the injured list right now. I messed up. I
Oh,
got stitches in my thumb, so I'm freaking out.
okay. All right.
Which is not
He's on the IR, injured
so
reserve.
no surf, no golf. So that's another reason why I'm
So
kind of
that's
sad. That's why I'm sad right now.
yeah, that's why you had a meltdown yesterday.
That's seriously why, bro. It's so bad. But I don't know. I mean, it's good. Like mainly it's like I would say my day-to-day nowadays is talking with, like our core team. So there's really 3, 4 people on our team that I'm catching up with every week, and they're just kind of giving me the state of the Bengals right now. Um, Brand director, director of ops, our director of product, supply chain. So yeah, it's a lot of time spent with them. And just I'm spending a lot of extra time right now, and I made this really clear with them at the beginning of the year that this is the year I'm going to like really push them to level up and start making some really bigger decisions, right? So like the situation yesterday is like it's about kind of cutting out something from a PO on product that to me, I felt really strongly like definitely don't cut that out. So, and I'm looking at a conversation like that, being like, okay, why does the team feel like they need to cut this out? Which is kind of opposite to the end goal of why we're even doing this product in the first place.
Mm.
And so I'm trying to like ingest all that stuff and try to figure out how do I teach them to do the opposite of what was actually going to be done. Because if I wasn't on that call, it would have been a grave mistake. Yeah, it would have been like detrimental. No, right? So
Mm.
we would have been fine, but also is like one of those conversations that I'm trying to train them up to kind of help, think a little bit more, like a little bigger around the business. We're in a transition moment now where we're adding a ton of products to the company. And so our marketing team is having a hard time realizing like, hey, you're not going to be pushing like a product in the marketing all the time, right? It's going to be a lot more just pushing the brand. And when people come to the site, there's 100 products that they could choose from. Uh, and that's okay. Like as long as we merch it really well on the site. But yeah, we don't have the ability to like talk about every single product every day anymore, right? On
I mean, that
socials.
kind of goes in what I say all the time around advertising.
Yeah,
All SKUs. It's
right.
like not every product deserves to get advertising on it.
It does.
Especially when you're talking about getting people into your ecosystem, breathing the brand. And now it's just way easier to target those people with all these other products that don't have marketing around them, right?
Yeah. I'm like, you talk to a lot of brands. Who do like brands at our size, what are they going through? What's like their big problems? And we're talking like, you're scaling from, you know, a 7-figure, low 8-figure business to like you're scaling to mid 8 figures, right? Like systems break, everything kind of breaks at these different levels. There's a book I actually like called Scaling Up that talks about that. Um,
Mhm.
and we see that happening. We're kind of in a breaking point right now, right? Bringing in retail, bringing international, trying to expand things, and all of that around this original goal I talked about earlier of like creating a moat now around the moat. and just doubling down on security and less volatility. Um, but yeah, like what are like founders doing? That because that's kind of my next speaking of network, like that's my next kind of thing I need to edge into a little bit more is I need to start talking to brands that are bigger than me, like significant,
Yeah,
and start learning from there. So as
especially
I mean, I need to do a little bit more taking at this point, but
well, especially in when you have like a tariff year where it cut out a lot of brands too, or they just went backwards. um, I don't think. I mean, there's nothing new under the sun, right? I don't think there's anything necessarily different from what you're doing, which is just not necessarily talking about like running awareness campaigns, but you're doing, marketing expansion, demand channel expansion into these different areas of need. But I don't know if it's that different. Like your next, like the plateau that you're trying to break through into that echelon of mid, top 8-figure brand. I don't think it's that much different from like the 10 to 20, truly.
yeah.
I mean, it's a little bit more complicated because you're not just kind of like getting a better marketing agency, or you're not just getting more focus and not trying to do app 11, TikTok,
Mhm.
TV. And like, I think those are some of the more like blocking and tackling things that I think separate founders that get to where you are that haven't yet. Um,
Yeah, no, I think like so this the one brand I just talked to doing really, really well, basically made to order style products, right? Approached, mid 8-figure range, really great. Um, Flattened out the last 2 years for obvious reasons, right? It's just kind of the state of
mhm,
things for most people. Um, and they're asking me about agencies, right? And they're talking to me about Kynship, right? And they had talked to you guys. And I'm like, and we're talking about that. And this is usually the case when I do talk about agencies. The main message I always share is like, yeah, no agency is gonna have some silver bullet strategy.
yeah,
Doesn't work that way. And, so I think like what I'm trying to do too, and what I'm suggesting to a lot of brands smaller is I'm saying look for partners that more niche to your needs, right? And are like a little bit more tighter to your needs because we've worked with, 3, 4 different agencies on spend, from Google to Meta to TikTok to whatever. And yeah, at the end of the day, strategy is a strategy. It's pretty open book as to what's working for most, right? So most agencies can kind of get to par, we'll call it. And then it's like, what takes them over that level, right? Well, it's not going to be some like hidden algorithm that they have or some like in-house software that they have.
right,
It's going to take you to the moon all day, like, or one day. Because I do see that a lot from founders. So like they are thinking they're going to make a switch and plug in a new agency and they're going to start popping off. And I'm like, couldn't be more wrong. But here's what is right and what I would say look for in that sense. And I'm looking for this in terms of just talking growth. Like, and this is why we brought on Kynship, right? Was we have a ton of UGC content. We have a ton of customers that post for us for free.
right.
And we've never been able to do anything with that because we didn't build a team to be able to ingest all that content and spit it out into the ad account, right? Um, and then that married really well with how we felt about cost caps. And so we were like, as we kind of interviewed around and talked to guys, boom,
Yeah.
all of a sudden, like, wait, you guys take care of all that content for us. Wait, you guys get all the permissions, you do all of that. And like, you guys won because of that, not because of like how you felt about buying ads necessarily. You know what I mean?
Mhm, mhm.
Because your niche worked for my niche. And even talking to this founder last week, as I'm like learning more about their company and they're like, hey, is Kynship a good fit? I'm like, I don't know. Tell me everything about your company, right?
Yeah,
Next thing I know, they're actually very similar to us, right? Heavy female, 20, 25, 30-year-old base.
yeah.
All these things they started telling me, they're posting about us all day long for free. And I'm like, yeah, in my mind, it's a no-brainer then because they're gonna do all that for you and throw it into the ad account, And I hopped on the
Mhm.
Facebook library and I'm like, yeah, you guys are only running like 20 ads. Like you could be running 900, right? So made a lot of sense, you know, and I'm like, cool, yeah, hit him up. You know, I would say it's a good fit. So I think like one thing that happened with us as we started having this big ramp up is we did have to make a lot of agencies changes. Um, you know, a lot of these, like even down to our target broker, right? All these things just started.
Yeah.
Our Amazon agency, same thing, right? So we just kind of had to move into a new step, a new level, and we just niche down to like, hey, can you really provide? Do you have something else that provides to like how our company operates?
Yeah,
And
and you're aligning everybody to the same end goal now with, like, financial clarity, working with an agency like us that takes that seriously too, that
yeah,
helps.
did
But
any of those moves grow our business? I don't know. Probably not. But it definitely helped our team operationally move forward and work better, which opened up time to the team that actually does grow the business, which in our world, I consider the head of growth, the head of products, and the CEO. So like that's my job. That's my products. Because you know, the way we grow is through products.
for
That's
sure,
that's our
90%
experience.
grants. Yeah.
So and then through, you know, all the other marketing efforts we're doing around influencer and stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think a lot of founders get stuck in that mix of thinking someone else is going to be their head of growth.
So true. S
Pretty
but
controversial.
I don't think so. I mean, I tell people that I mean, we call ourselves the e-commerce growth agency, but the growth is the CEO's job. It's like there's so many things that we can't grow your business. Like we can't monitor your retention, even if we were
You're
doing.
so limited in terms of
Yeah,
what you can do, and you know
like
that.
we can't develop new products. Like so that's gonna help, especially for a brand like yourself, or like LTV is little to nothing. So you're not sitting on subscription revenue that's just coming in.
I would say where you guys like do kind of side on the side of growth a little bit more is you've been in it. You've been in a D2C brand, so you've seen what grows a brand, right?
Yeah,
Beyond just what you did on Meta. Like you saw that at Kalo, you know, and
yeah,
others. And so I'm like, I think you can come in as growth consultants, right? Um, and be like, hey, here's what we've seen work for other brands. We've got a brand, Wildbird, popped off the last 4 years. Here's what grew them. We have another brand popped off the last 2 years. Here's what they did. And then like, I think what I love most about working with agencies or contractors, freelancers that see a lot of brands is honestly just the benchmarking. Like,
mhm,
it's what works for all these guys, you know? Oh, we just
yeah,
happen to have like our CRO agency, like we just happen to have a freaking another baby brand that we represent working for them. Cool, bring it on over. Why would it not work for us? So, you know, it's like we don't need to be innovative and make something new all day long. We like to just kind of iterate off of what's already working and put our spin on it or make our like put our improvements on it. And I think, you know, going into next year, like we grew 50% last year. Like I don't know if I can do that again. Ever.
incredible.
Right? If we could, that'd be psycho. But like as you get bigger, that percentage gets smaller, but
Right.
compounds into something bigger, right? And I remember hearing something about that on like Operators podcast not that long ago. And it's also about having like realistic expectations here. But you know, we're shooting for at least another 25% growth this year. It's just like, and I'm looking at that and be like, that's crazy. Like, how are we actually doing that? And I'm going over the forecasts and I'm like, what are the things that are actually making up this number? Right. And um you know, ultimately, the biggest thing comes down to last year launching a new product. Like, and when we actually look at the numbers, it's like, yeah, we launched this wrap and it's crushing. And we sold out a bunch, you know? And so it's like,
Well, and
that's
we got what was
business.
that, the beauty of what you guys did with, like, drops, basically, like, color drops that people were coming in and
Yeah. And then, like, I mean, look, there's
staying
like
for the
our
main thing.
whole, yeah, there's our whole foundation for Wildbird, right? And like the marketing machine of Wildbird is what, you know, helps sustain growth or like helps sustain relevancy too.
Yeah.
Um, you know, if there was like three, if I could like summarize what we're talking about into like the three things that took Wildbird up into the right. Number one, financial clarity, a freaking target, understanding where we're at, being very honest with ourselves. Like we
Mhm.
had to kill the darling product that we had for 5 years to unlock the next level. So it was like, it was financial clarity around what is this thing? What are we actually building here, right? And being willing to like, I mean, we killed off a lot of stuff. We like, to be honest, we killed
I
off.
mean, that's a great point.
It's
Point
huge.
too, making hard decisions, firing agencies that you had relationships with, people.
We had to end a lot of things that were really
Mhm.
good, just not good enough. Number one, and that was all backed by financial clarity or financial goals, right? And then number two is product dev, right? Just developing the right product and not just winging it, really understanding why is this the product? And then, the third one was just what we were just talking about, right? And just kind of not assuming growth is going to come from anything, any one trick or tool, right?
Yeah, the
And
buck stops with you.
the buck stops with us. And, and now it's like being where our customers are. Opening up Amazon was huge. Opening up TikTok Shop was huge. Opening up Target retail online, Nordstrom online retail, all huge, right? And now it's like, and then all of those three things are kind of encompassed by this one halo goal of how do I solve my mental instability around volatility?
Oh, man.
All like it all kind of encompasses that. Like at the end of the day, my goal literally was like, dude, how can I do this every day, day in and day out, and not be thinking in the back of my head, is this all gonna disappear one day? You know what I mean? And can I take care of my family, right? And all that. Cause I've got no other eggs in any other basket. I am all in on this. Like this has to work. So I think that, and those three items in the middle of it to like do that is, I mean, that's what turned it on for us, at least,
I
and
think
I
that's the whole
believe it does for most brands.
I think that's the whole part too of a future podcast is how to navigate that whole like mental side of running a business. Cause I mean, agency brand running a pressure washing business, it's like it's all the same game. It's all the same thing that you're
We're all doing
mentally
it. Like
for
I've got
sure.
family in the influencer game, same thing, dude.
Mhm.
Nobody really. It's very rare you meet someone that's like, I love it every day. We're going all day. I never have to worry about it. Even in the W-2 landscape, like there's still that sense of like,
For sure.
ooh, company's struggling. They're gonna start doing layoffs. So
Yep.
yeah, I mean, for me,
But I mean, that's where relationships, hobbies, I mean,
yeah,
any
dude, I just
outside
take
of
a break.
emotion.
Honestly, for me, that's huge. I gotta take breaks. But
Yep.
I think like now when you ask me like what my week's like, it's solving all the biggest problems. And so it's not really time heavy, but it's just like the weight of the decisions and like making sure I'm not screwing it up and I'm making the right decision or training my team on how they should be making those decisions. That feels like it's maybe 10, 15 hours a week of that, but it feels like 40 or 50, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So, um,
Oh, I mean, the whole hour allocation for running a business, like, it's kinda silly. It's
yeah,
like
it's mental though, man. For sure. Uh,
yeah, 100%.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's nuts. Um, and if anybody wants some advice on how to do it with your wife, I can give you lots of lessons there. We got a whole other time
Yeah.
though.
I don't envy you on that one, brother.
It's
Um,
good. We love it.
I mean, you'd have to, otherwise
Well, it's the same thing as like learning how to run, your brand. You just figure it out as you go, like constant pivots and you're constantly just kind of evolving.
yeah. Add
Uh
in 3 kids to the mix.
for like patterns and not problems. I think like that's another big thing at this phase. I'm desperately trying to solve patterns and not solve one-off problems because the one-off problem doesn't even matter.
Sure.
It already happened, so it doesn't even exist anymore. And the real question is like, okay, now we got to take the time to make sure this doesn't happen again. And that requires, solving the problem requires 10 minutes. Solving the pattern requires 5 days, and rearranging people would be like, yeah, you're now on this Winkley sink and I'm over here. So
Right, right.
way heavier, but so worth it,
For sure, for sure.
necessary.
I think we cut it there.
It's great. Great combo. Lot to
Loved
share.
it.